What goes around always comes around, and you can't stay out of Lady Karma's reach for long, as she will always get to you. She has a special thing for idiot drivers, and today we'll be looking at drivers that got what they deserved, especially the police ones. Watch till the end because we have pretty crazy ones with us today as well. Without further ado, let us jump right into it. This witty suspect was on the run from the cops and tried to bamboozle them by pulling a quick 180 in the middle of the road. However, this time the cops were tired and decided to pit maneuver the driver into submission. Here we have another driver trying their best to make a run for it, but he is no match for the cops, and they make sure that he's not going anywhere now. This Chrysler 300 might be going slow, but has led the cops for a long enough chase, and now they're going to put an end to their idiocy. The cop rams them off the road, causing the suspect to crash into a semi-truck. Unusual suspects run in unusual cars, and this guy decided that the best getaway car would be this U-Haul truck. A valiant effort, but when you have Chargers with V8s in them, best choose another car next time. Even a farmer decided to use a tractor to get away from the cops, and the resilient officers rammed the farm vehicle off the road and onto its roof in a small maneuver. Sometimes trouble makes its way to you, and when you're a cop, that can be a good thing. As soon as this cop went forward, a blind idiot tried bolting through the red light. However, the sight of the officer made them rethink their decision. The driver of this white car was not letting anyone pass them and would deliberately block the road if anyone would overtake them. Suddenly, an unnamed hero came over and gave them a taste of their own medicine. Like the ignorant driver they are, this guy almost crushes this chem car in between them and a semi-truck. Still not satisfied with the danger, they perform the stunt again, and that no-looker turn cost them dearly. Always remember to turn your signals on when changing lanes, and don't be an idiot like this Tesla driver who is blindly changing lanes. But the law is not as blind as them and caught them in the act right away. The last thing you want to do is brake check a cop and then act like you didn't do anything wrong and didn't just cut them off before it as well. This officer takes it cool, however, and does not make an issue, luckily. Unknown to this guy and the guy behind him, the person at the front is a cop who is giving way to the cars that are already going slow on the highway. The impatient person behind him, however, gets to learn it the hard way. This driver gets cut off by someone who was too much in a hurry and also in rage that they just slammed the brakes after overtaking this guy. However, that proved to be a problem for them instead. On the other hand, this idiot of a person was making a video of himself acting as if he lost control of the car and ended up actually losing control, slamming right into the signs and going off the road. Speeding down the road, this Mercedes driver was trying to cut ahead of this camera car, and when the turn came, it proved to be too much for them, flipping them over after losing control. These bikers met an angry driver who was too mad at them for riding close to him. They wanted to scare them away by swerving the car, but that proved to be their own downfall as they crashed after trying to pull this stunt. London roads are already pretty compact, and speeding down them is not a good idea to begin with. These R8 drivers thought otherwise and ended up facing the music for it as an officer pulled them over immediately. If you really think that you have no other option but to just overtake someone, just make sure that you're not cutting off an officer like this guy did, because that is just like digging your own grave. Here is what you get for trying to squeeze yourself in at the very last second as the road begins to close off. Stop signs are there for a reason, and that particular reason is right here in this video. Both of these guys ran stop signs and ended up colliding with one another as well. This person is running from the cops like a squirrel running for its life after being chased by a cat or eagle. However, he lacked the agility and skill of a squirrel as he kept changing lanes again and again, which eventually led to him crashing. Remember, folks, speeding thrills, but it also sends you to a hospital, resulting in you trying to fight for your life and then later going to jail for it regardless. Some people don't understand the meaning of a red light at a signal, and this driver decided they could just zoom past this one and could not have been more wrong. A truck driver came up with a cunning idea to sneak past the toll plaza as the barrier opened for the other truck to pass. Little did they know the barrier was not the only thing they needed to look out for. It is people like these that make you wonder if they even bothered to look around before pulling out and getting hit just when the car came up to them. Here is another driver that decided to follow the pack of red light runners, and the others were fortunate enough to make it through, but this guy, not so much as it seems. Abrupt lane changes because you can't wait a few seconds behind someone to overtake them are a big indicator for people like this that make you question why were they given a license in the first place. While going down this underpass, a speedy van driver decided to squeeze between two cars and make it ahead of everyone else. However, that was not the case, and things went the other way. While leaving the car meet in style, there is always that one person that has no idea how to launch their car and end up crashing on their way out. Seems like Challengers are taking the spot from the Mustangs. This driver thought he was above the rest and tried moving ahead of everyone by going the wrong way. As it turns out, he wasn't, and the cops were standing right there to let him know what was coming to him. Speeding down a steep road, which is already narrow as it is, yeah, that might be the biggest mistake this idiot driver must have made so far, and now has to pay for all the damages. Remember what I said about Challengers taking the place from Mustangs? Well, it seems the competition is still going strong as this Mustang driver proves to us who is better at failing. This driver could not have picked a worse spot to stop their car as the collapsible bridge started moving. How are they going to explain this to insurance? Well, they really can't. For no reason at all, the pickup truck driver brake checks this guy, who gives them a small reason to not do that again ever in the form of a bump. Later down the line, they still had the audacity to call this guy out as their mistake. What do you think might have caused this one? Because school buses are clearly visible because of their size, color, and flashing lights. Comment down below. Showing off your car is only good if you have skills to do it in the first place, and this guy lacked just that. A new car, and now it has to get its axle changed already. The same goes for this guy who, although he had a pretty neat start for his slide in the beginning, ended up breaking the rear axle, rim, and fender in one fell swoop. Sometimes when you get into an argument on the road, it is best to just let it slide for once because it's not worth it all the time. Other times you might end up with your own car rolled over to its side, like this one. Keep your eyes on the driver of this green sedan. They speed up and rear-end another driver, causing their truck to flip over and then have the audacity to make a run for it. However, people around were not going to let that slide. This driver, on the other hand, managed to flip himself over when he passed over the double line and tried to squeeze his car through the other two and ended up upside down. Karma gets to everyone, even the ones that might not use a single word to express their anger, but might use other means to do it instead. At this point, the government should just take all the stop signs down and scrap them because people don't really seem to be obeying them at all. If you absolutely must road rage with someone and want to hop out of your car to do so, then at least make sure that you have your car in park when you step out. This driver wanted to close down this intersection to show off his tire-burning skills to everyone around him. The only thing he managed to do was cook his brakes and got woozy after spinning around. This poor guy was just innocently making his way out of this car meet and revved his car to the max, launching himself out of the turn, but the timing could not have been any worse. From across the road, an officer stands and keeps his eye on the school bus to see if anyone would care to slingshot by the bus without stopping, and someone did just that. Here's another person that decided to shut down an intersection just so they could burn some rubber off of their tire. At this point, even their own car got tired of them and spit them right out. This impatient driver decided to use the shoulder as an express lane to overtake everyone else on the road. Their shortcut was cut even shorter when a turning truck brought an end to their stupid idea. This poor guy wanted to race someone on the road. As soon as the lights turned green, they floored the pedal to the ground, only to find out that the person they were racing was a cop. Here's another idiot that decided to use the shoulder for their own ease, but something was in the way and they crashed right into it and caused the car to get out of control. As the traffic was building up, a driver can be seen speeding in ahead of everyone else after finding a gap between the vehicles. They were noticed by an officer who was kind enough to pull them over. Pedestrian crossings are meant for pedestrians to cross over when the lights are red, and the driver of this black Civic learned that law the hard way as people decided to walk right over his car. Whenever you see a traffic jam, you best get in line and not turn the shoulder lane into your own personal lane, or else you could meet the same fate as this idiot. On the funnier side of the spectrum, here's a driver that was also driving on the shoulder of this highway, and to his surprise, he was met with cops that immediately saw what he was up to. This road rager in the white car was not letting his driver go in front of them, and the camera car driver used that to their advantage in the smartest of ways. If you really want to test how fragile someone's ego really is, you best put them in a road rage scenario like these two, who turned their cars into bumper cars for a second. Traffic here was jammed, so some smart guy decided to go in reverse to get out of it, and that plan really did not work out for them, as it seems. This guy was speeding down the road, and by the time they slowed down, it was a little too late, as an officer was already hot on their tracks and eventually pulled them over. Like any other Lada driver, this guy also thought he was better than the rest and decided to take a very unnecessary detour around the road to get ahead of everyone else. However, things really didn't turn out the way they wanted them to. Here is some news for whoever this might concern. Just because you have your indicator on does not mean that you automatically have the right of way to turn whenever and wherever you want. This bike re-encountered a red light runner who could no longer wait to drive ahead, and luckily for him, a cop who was right behind him instantly came after him. The driver of the pickup truck failed to check their blind areas, shoulder check, utilize an indication, or attempt to merge into this car, even though it was honking. They're stopped right away by an officer who was just behind them, witnessing everything that happened. Cutting off semi-trucks and then brake checking them is not a bright idea at all, as this driver serves as an example for all of us. Just give them space to move. A stupid driver pulled out of the parking lot without looking and could not bear the horn from this car. They pull over, and when they walk out of their van, they get drenched in mud water by another passing car. Sometimes staying in line has more benefits than getting out of it and trying to go off-road in order to cut everyone off in the same line. Another traffic jam ends up with two idiots risking it all by using the wrong side of the road to cut ahead of the line. To their surprise, a fleet of biker cops catches them red-handed and forces them to back up. Just because your car can go fast doesn't really mean that you should drive it fast. One driver narrowly made it across while the other one was not so lucky in doing the same stupid move. Here's a video of two truck drivers dishing it out on the road as they block each other's way and brake check one another. At the end, only one winner remained while the loser got what they deserved. Here's a driver who not only pulled out at the worst time, but also tried turning at the worst possible moment. It's okay, however, because they had their turn signal on. Am I right? Crossing the double line is a big no-no, and this driver made the mistake of overtaking a car over that line. Thankfully, cops were there to let them know what they did wrong. With the collaborative effort of this lady, officers managed to pull over multiple vehicles that did not stop for the school bus that dropped her kids off every day at home. The driver of this Porsche was cut off by two cars at the same time and the same turn, and he was visibly getting irritated by this. Thankfully, an undercover cop saw what happened and pulled them over. We have all heard multiple times the phrase, play stupid games and win stupid prizes, right? But this guy takes the cake after bumping into the cop car multiple times, after which the prize was not so nice. This red light runner could not have had worse timing and the worst light to try and run through, as it seems. Imagine the awkwardness on their face. This woman was being asked for a parking violation, and her collaborative attitude made things even worse when she tried to run away. People that go slow after hogging the fast lane are the worst, and this cop has a very easy fix for them. They turn their sirens and lights on, making it seem like they're pulling them over, but wait till you see what happens. In an odd twist of events, the emergency responders are the ones that caused this emergency. And who are they going to call for this? More cops? These guys are paying more attention to the road rage than the driving of their car, and their enthusiasm gets the best of them after they rear-end a poor driver. These bikers came across an intersection, and as soon as the light turned green, they encountered a red light runner who almost ran them over. An officer was there at the right time and immediately jumped into action. A robbery suspect was making his getaway, but thankfully chose the wrong car for the escape and crashed right into the cops himself. Another suspect was making a run for it from the cops until he ended up on an intersection where he crashed his car and made the job easier for the officers.